Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Oh, we're about to be. Absolutely brutal loss for Syracuse on the road in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Syracuse falls to Boston College, 81-73 the final score in overtime, a game in which we said the Orange just simply could not afford to lose. They do just that. Giovanni Heater with you alongside Samantha Croston to my left in studio here in downtown Syracuse on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. The phone lines are open. The phone lines are blazing right now. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. Before we get to that first call, though, I do want to turn it to Sam and ask Sam, what are your immediate reactions to this overtime loss for Syracuse at BC?
You know, the funny thing is, I predicted the final score would be 80-70. That wasn't a bad prediction.
Right.
Only problem is, I picked the wrong team to win. This is inexcusable. I mean, there is no way to defend this. This was effort. This was energy. That's the kind of problem that you're talking about here. This is what sticks out to me. Turnovers. Syracuse had 18. Boston College had 8. Points off turnovers. BC had 22. And second chance points, BC had 12. They also had 20 points off the bench. Ultimately, in my mind, that's what this comes down to. I mean, 18 turnovers. This was not a game that Syracuse could lose. And clearly we know that this isn't a talent issue. I mean, let's get to the callers, but my goodness gracious, this was an effort problem. To go on the road against legitimately one of, if not the worst team in the entire conference and lose, yeah, it's going to put a bad taste in your mouth. And I think the rest of the way, people are going to be thinking something different about this season. And honestly, I don't blame them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's go to those phone lines right now. We'll start with our man Pat in Syracuse. Pat has been on the line before we even got on the air, so we'll go to Pat right away and get him chiming in. Syracuse loses to Boston College in OT. Pat, what do you got for us?
I had to get on the line right away so I could order my Tully's takeout. So, I had to strategize my call stack, there. So, listen, one of the big takeaways from this game is really simple, okay? It's like the 3 blind mice on the bench. You cannot review that stepping out of bounds. Okay, first of all, out of bounds, this can be hard. But one thing 90% of refs are going to tell you is if somebody stepped on the line or not, that's a lot easier of an out-of-bounds call than, oh, my God, was that tipped, double tipped, was it not tipped, who hit it last? Those are hard out of bounds.
Sure.
That one was obvious that he stepped out of bounds. The announcers had to look at it for 0.2 seconds, and so did everybody watching, and he stepped out.
Right.
So for those idiots, for those morons, to challenge that shows they're inept and unable to run this team. Because not only did that cost them a challenge later, it cost them a timeout. Okay. Yep. Now let's go to the substitutions and the lineups. Okay. Oftentimes when he went zone, he actually had man type lineups in the game, meaning guys that play better in man than zone. Then he goes to a zone lineup and switches to man. We were struggling to score. He takes Freeman out and puts Soiree in. I mean, these are inexcusable, just elementary type things that a JV basketball player would understand that this is not good. Okay, and then to go off of what you said at the top, the reason that we're speaking about effort is because our coach took all of the rhythm and the science of the game away from his players. We have good players. I like a lot of our players. George was not having it today, okay? So what you do is you say, okay, I got 9 guys with very little drop-off. You put JJ at the 1 because he was defending the way he needed to defend, and they were not defending him, and he was getting to the basket, which is not in every game. And why I'm not the biggest JJ fan is because he can be one-dimensional in a half-court game because his shot stinks. But he was getting to the rim. So this is a game that you could have JJ at the 1. Then you put Kings at the 2, and you can go zone with those 2 guys. Put Betsy in there, oh, by the way, because you can't score. You put Betsy in with Kings, with JJ, with Donnie, and then you figure out who else you want in there, whether it's Kyle probably or something along those lines. But those are the 5 that never saw the floor together because our coach doesn't know how to adjust and win games. I mean, the only reason that BC won this game is because we were out-coached. Now, the players played harder in overtime, Boston College, and hats off to them. But because the game was already lost by the second half, when Freeman went out of the game, by the time he came back in, he had lost his rhythm. It was a horrible substitution. It'll be one I never forget. And I'd like your response to what you think about a lot of the things that I pointed out about the zone, the man, the lineups, the lack of intelligence on that challenge. What do you got for me? Because that's what I got for you.
Yeah, I'll start with the challenge. We all sat there, Jordan, who's producing the show, Sam and myself, and we just couldn't believe that Red challenged that in that spot. Not only because of what was at stake, obviously you could lose your timeout and you're going to lose your challenge. That's easy. But also, if there's going to be a challenge in that, I just didn't think it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right spot for the challenge. You didn't have enough to gain. Also, what is Red seeing from the other end of the floor, right, where Kings clearly, or it wasn't Kings, sorry, Nate George clearly steps out of bounds. It just felt like I was very puzzled by the fact that he goes for the challenge there. You know, the rest of your points, Pat, you're making a whole lot of sense, right? The lineups with the zone. I actually thought that the zone was going to help Syracuse today, but it had to be with the right personnel, right? And they weren't using the right personnel. I thought the zone was going to be the way Syracuse could blow Boston College out because, like Florida State, BC takes a lot of threes and can't make them, right? And that's kind of been their thing. And I thought that was what Syracuse was going to be able to do, force them to shoot those threes with the zone. That's what you want. You're pushing them out. You're forcing them to take that shot, and hopefully BC couldn't hit them, but it wasn't the right personnel today.
Yep. The last thing, the live ball turnovers is a coaching correction, okay? You prioritize, as the leader, you prioritize to your players. Guys, we need to value the ball and have better smart passes. I don't want any stupid cross-court passes, and there was 6 in this game that led to baskets. That's a coach. That's all you have to do. You call timeout. You say, guys, we cannot play this way. I do not want you throwing the ball across the court. They play good defense. BC is top 6 in the league in defense. They're going to steal it. And they did it over and over again. 3 blind mice. Unfortunately, the season's over. And fortunately for all the trolls, so is my call.
We appreciate you, Pat. He's out. He's out with the mic drop and everything. There's Pat. Let's keep it rolling because we've had people on the line for a long time here, Sam. Let's get right to Jordan, who was in Chestnut Hill at the ball game. Jordan, how are we? Not good.
Kick something.
Not good, it sounds like.
Just awful. You can't lose that game to BC. I was sitting right behind the bench. I mean, the fans were whatever. There wasn't much noise. It was okay, but BC. Everyone says BC is so bad, this and that. BC played really well. I couldn't believe it.
They definitely played one of their better games of the season, right? It's one of their best point totals, one of the best shooting performances they've had from beyond the arc at 40%. I would agree, Sam, that BC played one of its best games. But that's what happens to Syracuse. Doesn't it feel like every team plays their best game of the year against Syracuse, right? Even Florida State on Tuesday night, starting the game, they were red hot shooting from beyond the arc, and that's what we were sitting there saying. Like, of course, this is the night that one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country, but still shoots it a lot, gets hot, right? And that's kind of how it felt today as well with BC.
Yeah, and it should have been. It was a home game. It was all orange. I saw Mike Waters posted 8,000 people. That's the max, and their average is 4,500. sold out. It was all orange. But I also want to talk about Nate George. There's so many times that me and my dad were just so frustrated because why don't you take the ball out? Why are you dribbling 1-on-4? What's the point of that? Take it out, set a play, and do something with it. There's too many times in too many games that he's done this and has cost the game towards the end of the line. And then at the end of the line, we can't make free throws, and then we never can win a game.
Yeah. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, listen, Jordan, I understand where you're coming from. 7 turnovers from him today. I'll be honest in saying, at least for the moment, he has moved outside of my circle of trust a little bit here. I think that he is a good player. I certainly think he has a role on this team. I think he has something to offer. I think coming into this game, you saw some of the strengths that he had, right? He had been facilitating the ball more. He had been doing a good job assisting. But at times, especially when his back's against the wall, he's a bit of a liability. And I mean, even beyond that, right? Freeman with the turnovers, I believe he had 7 as well. George and Freeman together accounted for most of the turnovers in this game. It was a massive, massive problem. And to me, it's just silly, inexcusable mistakes.
I was even excited about George at the beginning of the ball game because he knocked in 2 threes pretty early. And I said, Red's talking about during the week how he wants to get Nate George some more shots because he feels like he's a good shooter. He wants to work in more opportunities for him to get shots. And I was like, man, he's got a couple of looks. He knocks a couple of threes down. It was actually a good start to the game for him, and then it just kind of all fell apart. Yeah. Those ended up being the only 2 shots he hit the whole night. Then he ends up, obviously turning the ball over. Him and Donnie combined for 14 turnovers. He had 7 himself. It was not good, not good.
They each had 7? Oh, my God.
Yeah, they each had 7. And that's the other thing, Jordan. I felt like Donnie, sure, he goes for 19 points, does go 5 of 6 from the stripe. Didn't love a couple of the threes he took. He ends up going 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, whatever. It was the turnovers, man. And it's like, he doesn't like passing the ball. There's times where I think he hangs on it too long, and you're going to give him grace because he's the best player on the floor. And then the times he chooses to pass, he's throwing it into traffic and turning it over, and it was head-scratching for sure.
Yeah, one last thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to, Autry, at the end of the game, why wouldn't you go zone? They're going to the hoop. They're not shooting threes. They want to go to the hoop and get fouled. Why wouldn't you play zone?
Yeah.
I think they had Soiree in at that time. We were down by 4. They had the ball. I think this was just right after the challenge.
Why is Soiree in at that point?
Yeah. Why is Soiree in at that point? Yes. But why wouldn't you go to zone? Why would you go to man? Man was killing us the whole night, and they could go in, and they could shoot the 3 every time. Autry, I don't know. Jim Boeheim would have won this game towards the end of the game. I'm sorry.
I'm with you, Jordan. We appreciate you. We got a long line of calls. You're the man, Jordan, and we'll talk to you next time. We appreciate you always.
Thank you.
That is
Have a good night.
You too. That is Jordan calling in from Chestnut Hill. Man was at the game.
I like that perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brought something a little different.
For sure. I'm gonna see what Jordan says. Jordan, should we take a break or should we keep it rolling with the callers? Let's see what our producer has to say. He said no. All right, we're gonna keep it with the phone lines. We're gonna go to Chris in Syracuse. My man's been waiting for 14 minutes here. So, and it says like he wants to. It sounds like he wants to talk about the job status of one Adrian Autry. Chris, what you got for us?
Well, Autry can disappoint his players, like having Sadiq White get technical fouls. Just go to show you he doesn't have basketball IQ. You never throw a cars past like Pat just said. And something I would have fouled and the game's up by 3. I would have fouled and have a chance to tie the game. I don't know why they didn't do that because how many times they went to triple overtime last season. They won overtime after 3 games, obviously. But too many excuses with turnovers and. I don't know who's a good coach. I keep on saying Penny Holloway, get somebody out of Memphis, get a professional coach. I don't know, some NBA player, because Autry and his whole staff are gone. I mean, there's no way there's no way they can get out of this going into the tournament. You can't lose to BC, and then you can't lose to Hofstra. I don't think there's too much of a hole to even if they beat Duke, possibly UNC or lose one in a row. If that's too much of a hole to get out of, I don't think they're maybe come close to the tournament now. And he's just. Obviously, because he wanted his job. He probably did that coach's challenge because he knows his job is on the line with these 9 games, like I was saying. If you don't go 9-0 the first 9, they're not going to do anything the next night because their schedule is still tough, playing North Carolina, Louisville, Virginia, NC State, North Carolina twice. They're not. No.
Yeah.
Autry's done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Chris, and we appreciate the call. It's starting to feel that way. It's starting to feel that way, Sam, where, they still have hope. There's still a path for the NCAA tournament. Look, you could go on this win streak in, the tail end, so I'm not going to say it's completely over, but we talked about it. They couldn't afford to lose this. Now you probably have to win, 4 or 5 quad one games. I mean, it just sounds like the mountain to climb is getting ridiculous at this point, and starting to be that point where we can have the conversation of, it might be over here.
Starting to feel like you see why it was called a must-win game, right?
Yeah.
And you see now, once Syracuse loses this game, why we were throwing around that phrase. Listen, I'll level with the entire audience. I think when you look at Boston College coming into this game and the schedule and what we talked about with overtime losses, right? Boston College lost to Florida Atlantic on November 3rd in overtime. Boston College lost in overtime on November 23rd to Tulane. And BC lost to LSU in overtime on December 3rd. I was the one who came here pregame and said, listen, Boston College at times is getting out-coached, especially in an overtime game. I'll say it. Syracuse today got out-hustled, outplayed, and out-coached.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's okay for people to honestly say that Adrian Autry is on the hot seat. There's no reason to dance around that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that things couldn't change from this point moving forward. I'm not one to lose my mind over one loss, but this wasn't just a loss. It was a really bad loss. It's not just 1 year that you missed the NCAA tournament. It's 4. And at some point, you have to, I think, look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, listen, what's actually going on here? Because with the talent that this roster has, things like this shouldn't happen. It's not to say that there aren't going to be dips, but that's different than losing a game against one of the worst teams in the conference. That's what happened today.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sam. Let's take one more caller before we head to a break here. They've been on hold for 8 minutes. The phone lines are on fire right now after Syracuse's overtime loss at the hands of Boston College in Chestnut Hill. Let's go to Jason in Maryland. Jason, how are you?
That was a rough game, and if Sam doesn't want to lose their mind, I will. Red and that coaching staff, easily the worst staff in the ACC. That was an atrociously coached game. There was a point in this game they were up 9 early on, and I was like, okay, we just keep the foot on the gas. He immediately takes out Donnie, Kings, basically the starting 5, and leaves JJ in with Soiree, Sadiq, and I think 2 other bench, Betsy and another guy, and they went on a 6-minute scoring drought. And by the time they put those guys back in, they were behind. They did come back and get the lead. Then he did it again in the second half. They were behind. Kings hits a 3, gets a 3-point play. They go up by 4. He takes Kings out of the game. It's like Red has a minutes quota that he has to meet for every guy on this roster, and it's costing them games, and it's going to cost him his job, because that was the end of the Red Autry era. You can say, they got a path to the tournament. They're not beating teams that are better than them. They're not coached well enough. They're poorly coached. They turn the ball over entirely too much. They do it all the time. Unforced, forced, it doesn't matter. Live ball, not live ball, they do it all the time. And your best player, everybody was raving about Donnie all week, how great he was. Is he the best player since Wes Johnson, all this other stuff? He had 7 turnovers today. He couldn't pass out of a double team. Your point guard turned it over 7 times, had 2 assists. He's been terrible in clutch moments this year. They can't win against good teams doing that, and it's not going to change because it's been this way for 3 years. It won't change until there is a change.
I see no lies. I think Jordan just spoke for the entire fan base, got it all off his chest. Even Pat couldn't articulate it quite that beautifully. Bravo, Jordan. Are you okay? I mean, it felt like in Christmas Vacation when Clark Griswold goes on at the end there and he said, I need some Tylenol. Are you good? Are you good, Jordan?
Where's the Tylenol? It's Jason.
Jason, I'm sorry, Jason.
It's all the J's. You know what I mean?
Yes, we just had Jordan a moment ago. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm good. I heard Sam say she wasn't going to lose her mind, so I just needed 5 minutes or 25 seconds to lose my mind. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on for a quick session.
That was awesome, Jason. We appreciate you. Absolutely. All right, we are going to take a break here on Q Sports Talk, ESPN Q's. That was something, Sam, wasn't it?
I like how he used the word session, like because it was giving therapy session. I feel like we were doing a good job listening.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, Jason. Thanks so much for being here.
Right. I honestly felt like in that moment it was up to us to just be a good listener.
100%. And I think we did a good job, right?
We did.
Empathetic, sympathetic, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, we let him cook. We made him feel empowered afterward.
I hope so.
I hope so. We're going to take a break, and we'll continue to break down Syracuse's overtime loss at Boston College on the other end. You're listening to QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
Catch the Syracuse basketball.
What me and Sam are just chilling and letting everybody else do the ranting here. Third and 6. We also full disclosure have the Bills game on.
Wait, I know. Everyone's like losing their mind. We're like fist bumping.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
sure,
like
the stream's like, what?
Pat's going nuts, and we're just like,
right.
Come on, Josh.
Come on, Joshy.
Oh my God.
No.
My king. Oh, it's a first down.
Okay.
It's a first down. And he didn't fumble. It was grounded deuce.
Yeah. We're good.
We got
James in Utica.
Jim from Skinny Atlas. James. Of course, Jordan said Jason, brother. My bad. We had Jordan right before. It's on me. Why are we tush pushing from the 2-yard line? Feels little. It's a lot. I don't feel like they need to tush push from 2 yards out.
Right. Although there was that one time
they did
weeks
go
ago
for 12
when
yards last
right.
week. So sorry, I didn't mean to leave this over there.
Oh, you're good.
It's not for everyone that thinks it's like fully over. Like theoretically, they could get hot, but I agree that there's a lot of teams a lot better than them, more well coached than them, and they probably will not win those games.
I don't know. I'm torn. Right. You always have a chance, but this was bad. This was really, really gut wrenching. I can't lie.
It can all be salvaged
with a
Bills win.
I know.
They can salvage this Saturday.
Yep.
With a trip to the AFC title game.
Come on.
Oh.
Is this you, my guy?
Huh? What? Oh, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me something.
Chat, what is everyone doing on this fine Saturday night to rid the woes of this unfortunate Syracuse possibly season-ending loss here? Nice, Jordan. I'm not going to repeat that, but that's funny. Where's the level 5 press conference? We don't get the pressers on the road because we get Jordan at the Dome for the home games. Although also Mecole Hardman fresh off IR for that touchdown. Actually off the practice squad, was on IR, then practice
That's the
squad.
kind of heart that I want to see.
Right.
It's the kind of hustle I need in my life. Keep it moving.
We got quite the setup right here.
I was pumped that you found it.
Right?
Yeah.
I was able to find it. Let's see. I think we should been a foul on Boston College and regularly. I agree, Zachary. Should have been a foul. Jordan was saying it in the room that that's called a foul any other point in the game, but of course they swallow the whistle there.
7 100.1, 1200 AM and 1440 AM. This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
A tough, possibly season-defining Syracuse road loss on the men's hoop side of things at Boston College. 81-73 the final score. Eagles take it to the Orange in overtime. Giovanni Heater alongside Samantha Croston with you right here on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. Sam, an unfortunate one for the Cuse, and it feels like one of those that you're going to point back to Selection Sunday. If Syracuse is not a tournament team, if they're not even on the bubble at that point, and you say, this is one of the big reasons as to why.
I see a couple people in the comment section talking about, the referees and some calls not going Syracuse's way. As far as I'm concerned, just my feeling on this show, that's what we're not going to do. We're not going to be blaming the refs for this loss. Come on, man. Come on. Listen, there was a lot that went into this. A part of it is Autry. A part of it was getting out coached. A part of it was a couple of decisions that I think should have been made that weren't.
Sure.
But the other thing is the players as well, right? Autry didn't go out there and turn the ball over 7 times. 2 players did that. So this is a multifaceted loss. But just honestly, as a former athlete, I can't sit here and honestly tell you that this had much to do with the referees. This is a Syracuse problem. The Syracuse players have to work it out as far as the turnovers, as far as the sloppiness, a little bit of laziness, quite honestly.
Yep.
And then as far as Adrian Autry, working out some things as far as being able to manage the game better, especially late in the game. I don't think this game should have even went to overtime. I think people want to talk a lot about it, and I totally understand it, the way that the last 2 or 3 or 4 minutes went. The problems in my mind preceded that.
I think the story is told in 18 Syracuse turnovers to 8 Boston College turnovers and 11 Boston College steals. And 2 of your better players in the starting lineup turned it over 7 times apiece, with Donnie Freeman and Nathan George combining for 14 total turnovers. Let's take it right back to the phone lines. We got James in Utica, who's been waiting very patiently. James, talk to us, brother. An unfortunate one in Chestnut Hill today.
No, absolutely. It's embarrassing. It's shameful as a lifelong, coming from Central New York, being a lifelong Syracuse fan. A couple quick things.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, this went from being, when we were talking about, if we pick up a UNC win, a Duke win, maybe we can sneak into the tournament. Now we have to pick up 3, 4, 5 of those in that tough stretch in February.
Yep.
And big picture, and I want to, give the foundation to this. Some people ask, why does this matter so much, right? And we're from Central New York. We all love this program. This is what we hang our hats on. It snows a lot. It's cold. We're not a Los Angeles or a New York City or a Miami that's glitzy. This is what is a part of our identity. Mm-hmm. And for this to be taken away from us, something has to change to rebuild that identity. This should have been done a month ago when we lost to Hofstra. Red, I respect what Red has done as a player, has done as an assistant coach. He's not the guy. I respect what John Wildhack has done in hiring Fran Brown. But the trend of Syracuse sports under this leadership is just not good. And there needs to be a change, if not tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday at the end of this season.
James, it's a beautiful call. And James, you're spot on. Thank you for ringing in, man. We talked about that in the pregame show, Sam. We talked about how we felt. The good news is there's still a lot of anger. All right, we'll take that. The anger has not turned into apathy yet. Yep. I don't think people don't care yet. But there's a lot of anger, right? And we talked about how, like was just said with James, it is a big part of the identity here. Syracuse is known as a basketball town. When people on a national scale think Syracuse, New York, they think Syracuse basketball, they think Jim Boeheim. That's what we're known for, right? Football's had its moments, lacrosse has its moments, but this is a basketball school. And when basketball's as bad as it's been, 4 years out of the tournament, sweating Selection Sunday for each of the last 10 years probably at this point, at least. Yeah, it's gotten to a point where it is no longer a blue blood program, and it's an unrecognizable Block S, if you will.
And listen, you don't get a mural in downtown Syracuse for no reason, right? You think about Jim Boeheim, you think about the history of this program. This is a program that was 2003 NCAA champions, 6 Final Fours, 41 NCAA tournaments, 44 All-Americans, 71 NBA draft picks. If you're a Syracuse fan listening to this show right now and you're feeling anger, let me validate you. I understand why you're feeling angry. If you live in Syracuse and to that caller's point, it's cold outside and you're feeling like this is the thing that helps you to rally through those winter months, I understand you.
Yeah, 100%.
If you live in Syracuse, basketball is a big part of the identity and the culture here. So I completely understand why any viewer listening to this show, why any fan of the program has high standards for the program. That's a good thing. So it is okay to be angry and upset right now when this team is not living up to the expectations that former teams have set. I totally get it.
And we're just as angry, right? I mean, you're from Long Island. I grew up here. We get it. We've been around. We've been around long enough. You've covered the team for quite some time now. I've covered the team for a bit and grew up here. We get it. We get it. We're one of you, right? We're professionals, but fans too, talking to you on that same wavelength. While we're talking about Coach, let's play his post-game coverage. He sat down with Matt Park immediately after the loss in Chestnut Hill. Just a brief clip from that. This is from the Syracuse Sports Network powered by Learfield. We appreciate them for sending us a little bit of audio, but let's give this a listen here. This is Red Autry after the loss at BC in overtime.
I thought the second half our defense just didn't withstand. Offensively, we turned the ball over a little bit too much to give ourselves a chance. You can't do that on the road. You got to be able to get stops and keep scoring, and we didn't do any of those. We came up short today. We just got to regroup and get ready for the next one.
Listen, it's one of those scenarios, Sam. It's like, what do you want the guy to say? He knows. He's feeling the pressure. I'm not saying he listens to these shows or reads the articles, but he knows. I mean, when your athletic director goes into this season and says publicly, we got to be playing meaningful games in March, you know what that means if you're the head coach of this program, right? You can feel it, the tension in the room when he walks into a post-game press conference after they lose to Hofstra, or a tight win towards the end of non-conference against a Northeastern or a Mercyhurst, what have you. You can feel the tension in the room when he feels like the media is kind of jumping down his throat and he feels like he has to defend with every last breath what's happening on the court. He feels the pressure. He feels the seat getting warm. What do you want the guy to say after the game, right?
Let me preface this by saying I truly and earnestly believe that no one feels more upset when these kinds of losses happen besides Adrian Autry.
I agree.
I mean, come on now. He's with these guys every single day.
Right.
I am sure he understands that his job is on the line. This is someone who clearly has immense care for the Syracuse men's basketball program and understands exactly what it means to this area. That being said, the only thing I would say as far as what he says in some of these press conferences is I almost wish sometimes he would show his anger, because clearly, behind closed doors, he's talking to some of these players. I almost wish that he would let that emotion drip out a little bit more. That's not me saying, of course, he's always going to defend his players. That's his job. But I'll just give you a quick comparison. I feel like Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack does a very good job with that as far as when the Syracuse women's basketball team has a great game, right? They just won triple overtime game against Cal. She is going all out. She is very expressive. When they don't play a good game, she is completely and utterly honest. And I have to say, I find it incredibly refreshing. She'll say, I'm going to level with you. The better team won today.
Sure.
That's kind of what I want to hear him say. I want to hear raw honesty. And I think that it would almost help the fans to know that he's feeling that frustration. So that would be my only thing. That would just be a pointer. I know that he's upset. I'd almost like to hear that.
Yeah.
I'd almost like to hear that.
I'm with you, Sam. Let's go to Teddy in Virginia on the phone lines here. Teddy, what you got for us, man?
Hey guys, first time caller from Virginia, originally from Camillus area.
Okay, welcome.
I'm just kind of baffled at this season outlook, and I'm just kind of curious to hear what you guys envision going forward. Obviously, tournament might be out of the question this year, but what does the program need to do to get back on the right track? Because I'm looking back, and the last tournament game I remember is Buddy Boeheim against West Virginia, and I want to get back to when we're in the tournament. So kind of just curious what you guys have to say on that, and how we can get back on track.
Yeah, appreciate the call there, Teddy, and it's a good question. Getting back on track is tough, right? Because, okay, it felt like we were just getting off the brunt of the Hofstra loss, right? They had ripped off 3 in a row. Vibes were kind of high. We thought they were going to take care of business today, and we were like, okay, there's some runway here. Now they're in a good spot, and it feels like you get pulled right back down to earth again. We mentioned it, Sam. The opportunities are going to be there. Can you win the games? And if you look at an overtime loss to Boston College today in a game where you turn it over 18 times and you allow 81 points, I would say no, they probably can't go beat Carolina and Duke and Virginia and Louisville and the upper echelon teams in the league. Opportunity still sits there, though. What is your outlook on the rest of the year?
I mean, listen, I felt like for a lot of fans today, felt like the balloon was popped a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I understand the frustration. I will say one thing about me, and I didn't used to be this way. Maybe that's just because I am a journalist now. I try to view things through a little bit more of an objective lens. I would have a better answer to that question once the season's over. I'd like to judge it in its entirety. I'd like to see where Syracuse men's basketball ends up, because the season, if we're all being honest and realistic, could still go one of a few different ways right now, right? That being said, if this is another year where Syracuse again misses the NCAA tournament, I do think that it's time to potentially look at a leadership change.
Yeah.
That's my honest feeling.
Yeah, I think that can certainly be in the cards. I've always kind of hung on to the notion that I feel like Red is Kien's coach, and as long as Melo is involved, like the building's named after Melo. It's the Carmelo K. Anthony Basketball Center. He paid for that building. Like he holds some weight, and Red is Kien's coach, and there's part of me that clings on to the feeling that as long as Kien's a part of the program, Red's going to be there. But at the same time, you're not going to do all that for one player, right? No matter who his dad is. So it's tough. It's a fine line. I think at this point, if they don't make the tournament, Red would be gone. But I still do hang on to that one notion. When we come back, we're going to take a break. We got Red Autry's full post-game press conference, the full shebang. We got it, and we're going to play it for you. So don't turn that radio dial. We're coming right back. It's QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
I thought you guys don't normally get the whole thing.
Huh?
I thought
we don't, but I guess Jordan said somehow we got it. Maybe we got it from...
Great, okay.
Yeah. Did you see James Cook fumbled? Brutal. They had a great drive going.
But I knew something happened because I looked back up. I was like, huh. How'd we get there? Well, you hate to see that, but oh, almost. How long is the presser? I'm curious.
Jordan, how long is that? 5 minutes, I think he said.
I feel like on the road is always a little bit shorter. I'd be curious to see what he said.
Yeah. Let's see. He said 8:30. All right, word. Okay. So we'll just take this as a full segment then, and then we'll go to break. Then we'll wrap up after. That fumble was brutal because they were driving good. Josh had like a 25-yard run.
I know.
Yeah, not level 5, Big Poppy. Not level 5. You know, that is what Red says, isn't it? He says some ums too. The official move is a week from today. A week from today, I'll be in, like, Arkansas in the car.
What'd you say?
They asked when the official move is for me. So I said a week from today, which is a little petrifying. Won't even lie about it. But we'll be good. Wow, Cole Bishop drilled that dude.
Holy smokes.
Florida guy says at least I get to see Virginia Tech win on Wednesday. Bro, I took the wind out of the sails of that game for sure. You've driven from Syracuse to Texas many times? Oh my God, where in Texas? Appreciate you, Big Poppy. Thank you. He said we're here for a good time, not a long time. It was a good time. San Antonio? Oh, wow. That's like further than where I'm going, too. What's that from Syracuse? College Station's like 24 hours. I hope the day 2 of the drive, I'm watching an AFC title game with the Bills in it, but Bo Nick's on the run.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Welcome back on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you alongside Samantha Croston. Syracuse falls at Boston College, 81-73, the final score in overtime. But we do have something for you. We got the post-game press conference for Red Autry and company immediately after Syracuse's overtime loss to Boston College. So as soon as Jordan gives us the thumbs up, we'll go ahead and roll that for you here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Cuse. But again, Sam, just a bummer for Cuse and company today out at BC. Pressure was really on. Felt like they needed to win these 4, right? This 4-game stretch. Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, Boston College, and Florida State, and they come away empty today in overtime. But a game where it wasn't pretty, but they led a lot of the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, just all in all, of all the games to lose, it felt like this was not the one where you wanted to see that happen. Coming into the game, BC was 7-10 overall, 0-4 in the conference, so Syracuse just handed them its first conference win. Just not a great showing overall, quite honestly, and I think it just puts a rough taste into some fans' mouths, right? Seeing something like this happen.
Yeah, no question. Sam, when you look at what Syracuse was able to do as far as scoring the 73 points, it's worth noting that Nate Kings did have a nice performance today, 27 points, went 6 of 6 from the stripe as well, went 8 of 12 from the floor.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting that from him. I felt like in the pregame we were talking about the fact that he's a 3-and-D guy. He had a great game. 27 points. I do remember saying in the pregame that I felt like he had a little more in the tank. He had some things that he hadn't necessarily shown us yet. Great day shooting. Great day at the free throw line. I mean, great day even with his 3-point shooting. This is a guy who had a 3-and-D day, but he also gave a little something extra. And I would love to see in future games him giving that kind of performance again, because it felt like at times throughout this season, Syracuse needed a little extra from someone. And I think that going forward, he could be that guy.
Awesome. All right. With that, we're going to go to Red Autry's post-game press conference on the road at Boston College. Syracuse falls 81-73. The final score in Chestnut Hill. Here's Coach after the game.
College made the plays that they needed to make, especially down the stretch of the second half. I thought they won the margins. They got the loose balls. They got the extra shots. And, they fought harder than us, which, I don't like to say that, but that's just the facts. I thought we let our offense impact our defense. They scored 81 points. We haven't given that up on the road in a while. But our level wasn't there. Our attention to detail was not there. We didn't finish the game the way we needed to finish the game. It's going to be close games like this all year, and we have to be able to come through and get those done and finish those. And we didn't do the job tonight. Unfortunately, we didn't do the job tonight. We've been in some. We've come out on the other end. Tonight, we did not come out on the other end, but I'm going to give credit to Boston College. They made the toughness plays. They made the plays that they needed to make to win the game, and we didn't.
Coach? Adrian, you had two guys had 14 turnovers. I think you had 18 altogether. How big did that impact the game today?
That's the game. Those two guys, handle the ball the most. You can't win and beat anybody with 18 turnovers, right? Like 18 turnovers and the turnovers that led to points. And I thought that was the difference. The turnovers that we had, we just can't make those. We're better than that. We have to we got to take care of the ball. 18 turnovers is insane. Right, like you can't do it. Can't do it. And they were live ball turnovers. So we got to work on that and get better at that.
Coach, going with the turnovers in 8, George at 7, 4, at least 4 in his last 4 games. Just what is it about his game that you think is kind of struggling right now?
I think it's a concerted effort. I think a lot of it is, we want to try to move the ball and get the ball back into his hands, and different guys touch it, and other guys are responsible for getting open. Right, we didn't get open at the end. We stood. We kind of, it was difficult for us to get into some type of rhythm. And we have to be able to do that. And we didn't do a good job of that. They denied us, and we talked about that coming out. They cannot, stop us from where we want to move the ball to, and they did that. We didn't work hard enough. So some of that is his teammates working hard enough, and some of it is he has to make better decisions.
Adrian, it seemed like when you started to make your early lineup changes, things went flat. Can you talk about the early moments of the middle of the first half there when you had to put some subs in and you didn't get anything from them?
Yeah, I mean, that was, we started off and we made the subs, and again, we stalled, but that happens in a game. We got to defend and we got to keep fighting. And I thought they did that in the first half. I didn't think that was the issue. Again, no one can play 40 minutes the way we're trying to play. So, and this team is good, and this team is going to be good, and it is good because of our depth. And I'm not going to stop playing guys. All right, we just got to do a better job. We got to get better at what we're doing. All right. Again, sometimes that happens. That it just happens. That they made. That happens, but we got to do a better job of trying to make that not happen with our defense. And I just think our defensive focus is not where it needs to be, and it hasn't been there in the last probably 2 or 3 games.
Coach, you're now 2-2 in quad 3 games. Just how frustrating is that?
I think it's frustrating. Again, I know everyone is caught up in quad 1, quad 2. I'm caught up in wins and losses and how my team is playing and how we get better. So again, it's very frustrating to lose a game. Right? It's in quad 2, quad 3. We lost the game. We're in conference play right now. And, if anyone, you follow this conference, Boston College, they've been playing well. They just didn't finish some of the games at the end. They've been in games like this. And today we allowed them to get back in the game and to finish the game. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. But it's very frustrating to lose any game, whether it's a quad 10 game or 4 game or whatever it is. I don't like losing. Losing is not fun.
Over here. Coach, is that a feel of an old school Big East matchup? How'd you like the intensity from both teams?
I mean, it was a hard play game. I just think, we didn't do what we supposed to. So that's the frustrating part. Again, I give credit to Boston College. They fought, and they got after it. And again, not to say that our guys didn't, but it's certain plays, certain times where you got to come up with it, right? We get a miss, we got to get the rebound. They get the rebound and score. And that's how it typically happens. I just thought they out-hustled us, especially late in the game.
Going back to the lineups and especially the bench, they outscored to 20-2 from bench. I know sometimes contributions isn't always about offense, but what do you want to see from your bench guys?
I wanted them to come in with the same intensity, sharing the basketball, moving the basketball on the offensive end, defending and rebounding, what I expect from my starters. because any of these guys could possibly start on this team. So we treat them like starters. So the expectation is for every player to play at a level 5 defensively, communicate defensively, look out for each other, help each other, play together, share the basketball. No different than what I asked, the 5 guys that begin the game.
Coach, there's obviously a lot of big opportunities in the future. What is it about this coaching staff and this team that you think can help us one behind the big opportunities?
We have to. What are you going to do? You have to, right? We got a lot of great opportunities, right? And that's the thing that I told our guys in there, we're disappointed in this loss, but this season, it's a lot of season left. And we have a lot of great opportunities ahead of us, right? And the one thing I do know is at the end of the season, the only way you can try to do what you want to do is win games, right? And this year, we're very fortunate that our conference is very strong, all right? And so we got a chance to go out and win some games.
What gives you confidence that your team can go out and win those big games? Because
we've won more than we've lost. I believe in this group. We've had some big games. We've competed against teams of in bigger conferences. So I got nothing but belief in this team. All right, and like I told these guys, it's a whole season, and sometimes we don't always play well. Right? How do we scrape out those wins? And we scraped out a couple. All right. Today we fell short. All right. Talent isn't enough. Right? Talent is enough. And then sometimes you just don't learn when you're winning. We're dealing with young men, 21, 22. Again, it's not. You don't want to lose games. But we got to wake up and get back to how we were playing defensively, and I'm confident that if we do that, we'll be fine.
Over here.
Fred Payne played almost every single minute for BC at 26 points. What made him so hard to stop?
Obviously he made 4 threes, but he's a relentless guy. They moved, and I thought they did a really good job of getting him the ball once he caught rhythm and caught fire, they got him the ball in the right spots, and and he made the plays.
Got time for one more.
Coach, Nate King's 27 today. He was, despite the loss, phenomenal. Can you talk about his performance?
Nate. He's an everyday guy. We get a lot of questions on, is he this, is he that, this, that. Nate's an everyday guy, and like I told people before, I don't worry about Nate Kings. He puts the work in. He's a grinder. He's a throwback. He plays. He gives you 100% every time he steps up on the court, and he's one of the better shooters in the country. I thought today, people got a chance to see that, but I don't worry about Nate. I worry about this team, and we all have to get to that level 5 intensity, and we all got to get on the same page clicking, and we've done it. Again, I'm not going to say all is lost because we dropped one today, but we just got to be a little bit more consistent. I've said it the last 2 games that our defense and our focus wasn't where it needed to be, and and I've been talking to the team about that, and so we got to continue to push forward and get that back.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That is head coach of the Orange, Adrian Autry, after Syracuse's overtime loss at Boston College. On the other end of the break, we'll wrap up our post-game coverage here on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
Chat. That was his third down play. He's a freak. Josh Allen's the best quarterback on the planet. I know. If the Bills didn't turn it over, they'd be up by a touchdown right now. James Cook fumbled. It was a good hit. Very unlike him to fumble, kind of. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Right? We did 4 breaks, right? This is the 4th one? Yeah. FMH. Red doesn't care if the team doesn't make the tournament. Somebody said Red doesn't care if the team doesn't make the tournament. I bet he does, because it's probably, his job description or his job on the line. If those that are wondering, this is smoked pork tenderloin gas.
No, come on.
Oh my God, Keon Coleman, you're terrible. You're terrible.
Come on.
He hit you right in the hands.
Come on.
What's the flag? Might have been holding anyway. Unless it was defensive holding. What was the flag? Look at this, Sam. Hits him right in the hands. Well,
that's what I said.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. Liddy, we're back in 30. How are you feeling, Jay Boogie? No. You were a maniac on them phone lines. Hello, operator. Yeah. Right. Everyone wants to tell their whole spiel. I'm like, you don't got to give me the whole spiel. You can save it for Tim. Yeah. Yeah. One last time.
ESPN Radio 97.7, 100.1, 1200 AM and 1440 AM. This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
One final segment, wrapping things up post-game here in downtown Syracuse. The Orange fall on the road at Boston College in a must-win game. 81-73 the final score via overtime. Giovanni Heater alongside Samantha Croston with you here on ESPN Syracuse and CuseSportsTalk.com. We appreciate everybody chiming in throughout the show today. One last chance to do so as the phone lines are open at 315-437-7644, the number to call. Sam, we've talked about it as ad nauseum at this point. A bummer for Syracuse. Nice performance out of Nate King's dropping 27 points, but it came down to Syracuse's 18 turnovers to Boston College's 8. Not a good spot to be in if you're the Cuse. It came down to Syracuse shooting it not great from the free throw line at 14-22. That's below 70% at 64% on the night. And it cost them. Turnovers, missed free throws. That's what it really boils down to for Syracuse falling on the road to a much inferior opponent on paper coming into the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that some of the things that Coach Autry said made a lot of sense to me. I mean, he gave credit to BC, said that they did a better job with the toughness plays. Thought that was classy. He said you can't win or beat anybody with 18 turnovers.
Yeah.
Adding 18 turnovers is insane. I kind of like that he said that. I find that to be refreshing. He said our defensive focus hasn't been where it needs to be. I think that that's fair too. I think that's a part of it. We talk about how good this team was defensively at the beginning of the season. And it does feel like, at least in some way, to some degree, that defensive performance has slipped a bit.
Yeah.
Today included. I like that he said that he's caught up in wins and losses instead of, quad 1, 2, 3, 4. Not because it's not important, but because at this point, when you're losing to BC, I think as the head coach, that's what you have to be thinking about. For him, it's wins, it's losses, right?
Right.
Last thing he said was that he thought that it was fortunate that the ACC is so strong, adding that talent isn't enough. That's true.
Yeah.
And I think this game proves that, right? Clearly, this is a talented roster. I don't think there's anybody who would dispute that. But a day like today shows you that it takes more than talent to win a game. And there were a couple of unteachables that just weren't there today.
Let's wrap up the show by getting a call in from our guy, Vito. He's in Chestnut Hill. He was at the ball game. Second caller today that was at the game in Chestnut Hill between Syracuse and Boston College. Vito, what do you got for us?
Guys, I was talking to the screener. He was asking me if I was going to get the cannolis. But I'm too upset. I'm too upset that I didn't even go. Like, just watching this unfold in front of my eyes was horrific. Like, George should have been off the court. This is one of those moments where I'm getting a lot of feedback. Is my call coming through okay?
Yeah, we hear you great. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, no, we're good. So it's one of those situations where if I'm the coach, I pull him out of the game and I say, it's not your night tonight. Nothing against you. You're going to start next game. This is just not your night. It was that bad. George was just out of – I've never seen – I think there was 1 minute in there. I texted my buddies. I said, that was probably the worst 1 minute stretch I've ever seen for an SU basketball player. And I've been watching, obviously, for a lot of years. He was just out of control with the turnovers. The one time, I can't remember what the score was. It was very critical. And he gets across the half-court line. The dude just picks his pocket. He, kind of recovers, gets the ball back under the basket, but stepped out. But when he got his pocket picked there, and then they started overtime, and he's still on the court. And I know you guys are talking about the turnovers, and there's nothing the coach can do about that. But the other thing is he's subbing 3 people at one time. I don't know if that's his thing. Red's thing is subbing 3 at a time. Kyle and Donnie were out of the game for long stretches. He's not playing Betsy enough. Betsy was 6 for 8 from 3. They needed him out there. He wasn't playing him enough. This is just not – Red's not suited for Division I Power 4 basketball. It's just not his thing. I'm done with him.
Vito, we appreciate you. I got one question to leave you with. What was the atmosphere there like? I've always heard this is one of the only spots I haven't gotten to in the ACC. I've always heard that it's one of those places where you kind of got to create your own juice. Now, this isn't a 9 p.m. tip on a Tuesday night, right? This is obviously a Saturday afternoon. I know they advertised it as a sellout. What is your prognosis on what a Boston College basketball environment is like, especially with the way this team was struggling coming in? Was it a tough place to play, or did Syracuse really have to try and bring their own juice today?
So the student section for BC's on the side, on the end where the Syracuse bench is. Most of the ruckus came from that end, anytime anything would happen for them. But I would say it was probably 70-30, and maybe 60-40 in favor of Syracuse.
Wow.
And, one thing I didn't hear the Syracuse fans trying to drown out there was a competition for Let's Go Eagles and Let's Go Orange, that was going on. But there was no clear advantage for them in this. The Syracuse fans travel great, and we're doing everything we can to support this program and this coach, but it's just not happening with him. And I rooted for him. I've been rooting for him. I'll still root for him all season, and I love him from when he played in the early 90s. But this just isn't working, man. And, people talk about the Boeheim legacy and continuing it, but we're past that now. You got to do a national search. Look what happened with what was it? What's the other team? Louisville's already back, playing great ball. They were like horrific. 2 years ago?
Yeah, and then they went and got Pat Kelsey, and look what they're doing.
Yep, exactly. And it's just like, I understand, it's awesome if it would be a great story if one of Boeheim's proteges brought the team back to the Final Four, something like that. It's just not happening, man. And we got to make a change.
100%. Vito, I think that's the perfect way to end it off. You're spot on. And that's coming from a guy that was here, watched Red play from his playing days, and has seen what Syracuse is at the pinnacle for a long, long time. And it's been quite the fall from grace. Vito, get home safe, man. We appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. There is Vito. Sam, that was kind of the perfect way to end it off. That really does do a nice job of representing the mood, the vibe of this fan base right now.
Yeah, I thought he was really well-spoken. I totally agree. It matches the vibe, and I think big picture, you can walk away from today and know that this wasn't just a loss.
Yeah.
This signifies a little more than that, and I think big picture, a lot of fans are going to start to ask some questions a little bit louder as far as who should be leading this program and what happens from here on out.
It's been pretty loud, too. I don't even know if the volume goes up that high. We might have to get new speakers because it's been pretty loud up to this point. Sam, it's been a blast. We only got to do 2 shows together, but wanted to thank you because it's been a lot of fun doing these together the last couple of weeks here, and I know you're in great hands once you and Kyle get this thing rolling on the weekends.
Man, I appreciate you. I feel really grateful that I got to do this with you, and I think that I can speak for anyone who's listened to these shows the entire way when I say that I think we'll be seeing you on a bigger stage easily within the next 3 to 5 years. So good luck to you in your journey, and I really think you're going to do a great job in this industry.
Thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate you saying that. It was fun. It was fun, no question. Unfortunately, not the result we were looking for. Syracuse falls to Boston College, 81-73, the final score in overtime on the road. We'll have you covered, though, this week. Of course, we got Orange Nation noon to 2. We got Drive Time 5 to 6. One more basketball show for me. We got the Virginia Tech game coming up 9 p.m. on Wednesday night. Hokies in the Orange will do battle inside the Dome, so we'll have pregame coverage right here at 8 p.m. sharp on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Thank you, though, for spending your Saturday with us. Hopefully, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you can have this thing fixed a little bit and go to bed feeling a little bit better than you're feeling right now. If you're not a Bills fan, I'm sorry. With that, we appreciate Jordan Capozzi producing the show behind the scenes. Sam, any final thoughts from you?
Listen, I think that of all people, Adrian Autry said it best when he said talent isn't enough. Something else happened here, and I think you have to look at everything from the energy to the effort to the in-game decisions that were made, to the coaching, to the substitutions. Look at all of it, because this was not a game you could lose, and yet that's exactly what happened.
Perfectly put. For Jordan Capozzi behind the scenes, for Samantha Croston, I'm Giovanni Heater. We will talk to you on Wednesday. 81-73, the final score in Chestnut Hill. Syracuse falls in overtime to Boston College.